No, but can we be biased? Let's go.
Who's going to stop us?
Yeah. I've been waiting. I've been
unlimited
waiting
power.
for the threads to be like, this lyric guy's so biased.
I'll make a thread for you later today.
But we are going to jump in. EDG, though, are going to keep the two bands stock and standard with the Rumble and the Yone again. I think those are both good shouts. And I'm wondering, with Kennen off the table, kind of surprisingly, if they were just going to, I thought they were maybe going to index more to Cream and be like, hell, we don't care if things like the Silas, the Akali are becoming a bit more niche. Like, still just opting to taking those out and again, trying to push him off comfort because 2 games in a row, he's gotten something that he likes. And sure, game 1, it might not have worked, but he still looks so good in that first 20 minutes of the game.
He really did. Wukong taken, though, with Vi off of the table. I'm curious where Aki will go. Shanji's hovering a Siobhan. Now, I don't expect this to be locked in, but for anyone that missed it last year, Shanji made his name in the LPL on Shyvana. He was locking it in the top lane and finding solo kills. I'm sure he's just hovering to reminisce on those times as Zeri's locked in. Do we see just a blind Silas here just to get it on the board?
I don't think so, especially considering that, again, you still have the Ahri, you still have the LeBlanc up. So 3 potential options for Cream there in the mid lane, so they will just go with the outright takeaway of this bot lane, which, again, Abel's played. I mean, Abel's been pretty much everything in the split deck that can be played down there in the bot lane, but they haven't been one of the bot lanes that lean too heavily on this, like some other bot lanes we've seen, EDG especially, right? Leave, it's the most played by far. So maybe going to go with the opposite end and get the Aphelios. We've seen some hook champions come out. Some other things that you hit on is like we've noticeably not seen like a lot of anti-priority in this series. That's something that you can always have on your mind. Though I think it's stronger for teams that do flex it, and EDG have not been a team that have really been willing to flex that one in, but we still might get it.
It's a powerful pick, and like you say, just because they haven't flexed it doesn't mean they can't flex it, right? I can certainly imagine Fofo happy to play this. He played the Gragas previously, both enabling mid laners that can bring damage to the table as well. And there it is, Annie, locked in and instantly answered by Cream's Akali.
Going to come through. I want to see Fofo's willing to pilot this, having things like the shield, having very easy ways to get CC off and potentially keep that Akali down can always be an answer. But again, it is something that's also very commonly paired with the Aphelios in that 2v2. I feel like it just brings so much burst. The range that Annie has, I feel like kind of makes up for some of the range that can't be there from Aphelios once the Calibrum is off the table. And now for OMG, going to start targeting towards the top lane for these round 2s. We've usually seen EDG put fans into mid lane here, but with those out, you'd expect it to just to be jungle. Vi and Wukong already taken off, so not even too many strong meta options available.
Yeah.
Aki has been one of the people who has kind of brought in things like the Jarvan, brought in things like the Xin Zhao, which Jarvan we've seen a bit of. Xin Zhao really has not been even niche whatsoever. But you always got to be on your toes for those things to come out with Aki on the Rift.
I mean, Jarvan would certainly tick a lot of boxes, wouldn't it? Being able to be proactive in the way that Aki wants to be. But also, I've seen rumblings on Twitter that Jarvan might be kind of underrated right now. Quite a strong pick, apparently, statistically speaking, at least. The Grag is taken off the board here. And
yeah,
Jarvan we're talking about, taken off of the board.
I guess even having the immobility of the Aphelios, and if you expect the Annie to go down towards that bot lane, it's something like a Thresh theoretically wouldn't come out to help him in that avenue. So now for OMG, going to be looking towards top, funnily enough. I guess with the amount of bans that have been invested, maybe just wanting to get the safest blind pick, I think it come through, which surprises me because you still have Kasante, you still have Sion, you still have so many different options on the table, but wanting to make sure that they have a semblance of pressure in top lane.
We'll see what they're going to go for up towards the top side here. Shanji has been the Kasante aficionado of the league, whereas Ala has only played it twice so far this year. The Scion much more within his wheelhouse. It looks like EDG are just going to go for a safe top side here, play towards that Aphelios, but in fact actually look at the Victor first.
We were highlighting Cream, usually defaulting to the Victor, not something Fofo's done too much, but Fofo also just way more competent on control mages and fits his style more. We hit on earlier, especially if you remember his tenure on RA, it was really built on like pick scaling mage, play for late game team fight, and really be the one who had to carry the games. He had something ridiculous, like 36% of his team's damage that split, like as his average. It was absolutely nuts. So just gonna go pretty straightforward, front to back, 5v5 team fights, tons of DPS, able to come out. And now for OMG, where do they want to go with jungle? I mean, the Jarvan was something we were speculating being taken off the table. Maokai, I guess, being the other big thing left up. But again, we've really seen this kind of fall to the wayside in recent weeks in the LPL.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Poppy jungle at the minute, but against this composition, would not work. So the Annie does end up going into that support role with Fofo taking the Victor mid. And we have our two compositions lined up very different to a lot of the stuff we've seen today with this Victor coming in the mid lane. The Annie, this is the first time we see it this series from either team. And then that Maokai as well, like you say, not really been a highlight over the last few days in the LPL, but Aki bringing it back to the table.
EDG really wants stability this game, right? I mean, you're going to love front to backs. You have a huge front line that they really can't break past. Like, sure, you have Zeri, but you just have so many like ways of dissuading them to engage, and you have such long-range damage coming through with the Victor. I feel it's going to do a great job of burning down things like the Maokai and Renekton on the opposite side. So for OMG, we want to see proactivity, especially happen around this mid lane, because later on, you're heavily going to rely on flanks to have to be what saves you at the end of the day. So Cream, and then, you know, the Maokai and the Renekton and top side, hopefully finding pressure and allowing you start either fighting invades on the JJ, getting vision set down, and allowing this Akali to pop off.
Yeah, a lot of damage available in this top side from OMG. A lot of presence, but they need to use it because I don't think there's even a conversation in this game. They will be outscaled. Like this Victor, Fele, or Sion, you've got a lot of scaling in every single lane for EDG. They want as quiet of an early game as possible. That said, maybe some shenanigans could occur down at the bottom side. We do have an Annie for Mako. There's always room for playmaking there.
Yeah, I think especially at that level 6 mark, right? I mean, Tibbers, Moonlight Vigil, Wukong following up. That will be the lane that I'm looking at to receive some pressure from EDG, which is great if it's thematically with how EDG have worked around their identity over these past, I don't even say past few years, literally since their inception in the LPL. Yeah. The only split I feel like we saw them play heavily around topside was, I can't remember if it was spring or summer, but 2020 when Xiaosheng came in, and they're putting a lot towards topside, which, to be fair, 2020 is also the only split, I think it was 2020 summer, EDG didn't even make playoffs.
Yeah.
So, kind of makes sense.
So they're never doing that again.
Kind of makes sense why that hasn't been their recipe for success ever since.
Yeah.
And even before.
We don't talk about that split. We don't talk about that.
I think RNG didn't make it. That's
yeah, no, yeah, I remember it was 2020 spring because me and Rob talked about it in our flat how we'd joined the LPL and we'd seen RNG and EDG all of these years, and we got to LPL and they sucked. Like it was not the legendary teams that we had been promised.
I mean, the fact that EDG have been able to rebuild and bring it back is crazy. Like, yeah, didn't matter if there was 2 dry years because 2019 also wasn't a great year for EDG if they were making it to playoffs, but then coming back strong 2021, 2022, and now 2023 sitting at the top of the table.
And for RNG as well, who feel like they're on the up and up with this roster. Absolutely clowning on Ultra Prime the other day. As SHANGHAI is loving this trade right now. Just hitting away, but answered back by Ala. She's done a very good job to keep that even.
Yeah, doing a nice job finding the trade back. SHANGHAI going with the extended trade, having that Conqueror stacking up the whole time, to where Ala going with the Grasp, which typically is more about those short trades, able to come on through, but having that Q, being able to equalize, is what's allowing Ala to do fine in this matchup. And let's remember that Ala, earlier in the series, was playing the Jax against the Silent. The Silent was absolutely doing work. So the same potential is definitely here, but we don't know how OMG want to get things going early in topside, and they're already looking for it.
Again, cheeky with it. SHANGHAI has the stun available, you'd assume. Aki in the wings as Ala getting aggressive. And here we go, Twisted advance with the flash, the Bramble Smash back into the play and executed. SHANGHAI taking the first kill of the game, and OMG just a perfectly played set piece there.
Yeah, 3 camps into top gank, something that, you know, not reinventing the wheel, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel when it works. I'm surprised Ala didn't snuff more out that was potential when SHANGHAI was so low, sitting in front of him. Yeah, I just feel like you could have maybe read into that. That could have been a bait, but not going to happen. TP and Flash having to come out from him so early on. JJ will respond by counter jungling on the opposite side, so at least EDG finds something, even if not that big in the end.
Yeah. And I will say it kind of sucks not to have blue buff as Maokai, because you do want to spam those abilities as much as possible, but that ward there. I'm curious what JJ is planning. But the sapling kind of denies anything. He's just going to go for the scuttle grab.
Yeah, and you even look like Fofo has Prio and was kind of leaning down, but you don't really, I don't feel like as Victory really has much way of enabling that play. We're going to see here, Aki waiting in the brush. Again, Shanji just doing a great job of looking juicy to bring him in. Flash, I mean, comes too late from the Scion. We already saw the Twisted Advance coming through. Sets up for the Bramble Smash, and just easy work for the OMG top side.
Yeah, nice stuff. And we did talk about how OMG's top side need to be aggressive. They need to find themselves leads. This Renekton, this Akali. And you just know that wherever the next play is, Cream is going to be involved. As soon as he's got a couple of levels on that Akali, he is everywhere on the map and he is making things happen. We've seen it all series long, but Fofo so far doing a phenomenal job of building himself a bit of a CS lead. This is what we know Fofo for, playing these control mages and just dominating during the laning phase.
It's also one of those things where people say, right, Victor is a scaling champion. Victor not that useful in the early game. Victor in the isolated 1v1s is very strong. Very strong. Your Q especially, I mean, the shield that you get from that, the damage put out, the range you have to play with is there. Just when you join up in skirmishes, you really don't have that much to offer. But doing a nice job of not only controlling his lane, but getting some early vision set out so they know exactly where Aki is playing towards. And in my mind, that's the name of the game for EDG. Like, we can see maybe JJ's going to angle up for some plays, but in my mind, as long as you know where Aki is, you're kind of having some defensive counter ganks coming through, and then you have, like we said, some opportunities towards spawn, especially post 6, and you can stabilize the game, that is fine. That is good enough for EDG's composition and their win condition going forward.
Absolutely. Damage from Ala there, but Ala, low on HP, no mana, and no teleport available. He's going to start really struggling in this top lane right now as Shanji will just continuously push him underneath the tower, build a CS lead for himself. I thought Shanji had hit Ala then. I thought he was going to be tanking tower through that entire stun. That would have been brutal, but won't quite land it. As now Mako moving back down towards this bottom side with JJ. Aki though, he's moving back up to top lane. Ala's in a whole heap of trouble here.
No mana either, which I feel like will be the big thing setting them apart. So Shanji trying to find a heavy trade now, get his health bar low enough to where you can go for this dive. With Dominus Munch, it's just going to happen.
Dominus going to come out. There's no flash available. The Bramble Smash, and Shanji finishes the job. As Aki just walks into that next minion wave, he'll walk away with his life. Ala just getting whatever CS he can before he goes down. EDG, they will get themselves that Drake. Somewhat of a consolation prize at this point with how OMG are doing in the top side.
Teams just playing to opposite sides. EDG knowing they don't want to match into that top side aggression, so they are just cross-mapping, constantly going for plays on the opposite side. We can even see now going for a steal once again. So at least realizing, hey, our side's going to be weak. It's fine. He's a tank. He'll be able to be useful into his job no matter like what item deficiency he's at. So let's get our jungler ahead. Let's start just stacking up these Drakes to make sure we have the insurance policy, or if we can sell out this game, that we will be in a fine position. Still, Iron Spike with Caulfield's Warhammer now built up by Shanji, so they're going to start getting more and more oppressive. It's just the fact that, I mean, Ala going with Bomby Cinder, helping it to be able to maintain pushing these waves, but, you know, not as defensive force of a build if you know, went for like plated steel caps or Bramble Vest or any of those item purchases, right?
Yeah. And the question will be not whether or not Ala can become a tank. Like you say, inevitably Cyan will still be useful later on. It's what can Shanji do to impact this game? He's got 2 kills very early on here. He's got an individual lead that he can leverage. We need to see him use that.
I think one thing we're definitely looking out for is Herald. That'll be up in 30 seconds. We can even see on the minimap great vision around topside for OMG. So if you can guarantee that objective and then really start breaking down structures, it'll give you the freedom to start roaming around the map even more. So that should be the play for OMG. I wonder if Aki will just decide to stick around topside in the meantime. He even still has some chugs to do, so it makes sense in my mind to do so. And if EDG even want to try and contest, or if they just keep bringing Jijit down towards bot side. His full top side camp's up right now, so you'd expect him to go that way, but I don't really think they should be in a position to where they can really contest a Rift Herald fight if it comes through.
No, not at all. Not against this Renekton right now, especially with that Iron Spike whip in inventory. He's got a lot of damage available, and Ala sees Aki on the ward and just bails. Just legs it out of the top lane. He knows that there's a risk of a dive. But Aki not interested in that right now. He's going to start that Herald off. And EDG acknowledging this, just playing on the opposite side of the map. Again, going for the invade on that bottom quadrant.
So not even going to look towards his topside camps, realizing, hey, I can get more done here, and it even just puts more pressure on OMG's bot lane and allows Leave and Mako more freedom to play aggressively. We're going to be looking at Aki and where he wants to go with the Herald. The fact that you've already started breaking plates down in topside would just lead me to believe that you're just going to give even more gold over to the Renekton. Would feel quite nice if you could give it to either the Zeri or the Akali, but we'll see if Aki even has the option to do so.
I have to ask, do you feel like EDG should be being more aggressive on the bottom side here? Like, should they be trying to set up dives onto Abel and PT God when they know Aki's playing so heavily for the top side?
I feel like you'll be able to start looking for it in a moment. Mako should be just a few experience off of hitting level 6, and then again, I really feel like you're hitting with the full force of your burst, and these plays become even more guaranteed, especially when you have things like the wild growth and the shields that you have to contend with in that bot side.
Okay. So not going for it just yet. As JJ moves into the top side just to clear away some vision. But in the meantime, flash from Aki, in goes Cream, the wild growth is there, and Mako doesn't have a chance in this one. Cream with his first kill of the game. Perfect execution, just going to be used to get out.
And when we were asking for something to set up for Herald to be dropped for one of your other carries, this pick on Mako does that.
Oh yeah, big time, and maybe a pick onto Leave as well. He keeps himself safe, stays at range, but one plate already taken. They would love to Herald for that Zeri, and they're going to be able to at least 3 plates in the bottom side. Potentially a 4th if Abel can get just a bit more damage onto the tower. But regardless, I mean, what a series of plays from OMG. This is immaculate snowballing, a 2,000 gold lead.
All 3 games, OMG have just outplayed EDG in the early stages of the game. This time around just feel like more to the advantages of their composition, but still the way they're just playing off those so well. Aki being so involved, so proactive on the map, realizing, oh, we've already got top ahead, lean towards mid. Oh, Mako's here, catch Mako out. This opens up for what we wanted, getting play gold onto our Zeri. It's really just going according to plan.
Yeah.
Luckily for EDG, they're just not falling too far behind. Not even 1K gold down at this point. I guess they are now, but a second ago wasn't 1K gold down. I don't know what just shifted, but
yeah, it was 2K not long ago, but Leave and Mako managed to get a couple of plates in the previous play. Aki considering coming into this lane, but the ward spots the sampling coming over, and JJ's here as well, so they've got to be a little cautious. Drake coming up though in 5 seconds time. Both teams going to have their eyes on this one. EDG got the first. Do we see SHANGHAI try and get involved? I mean, his CP's on cooldown. I guess he can't walk across the map. That's a lot of OMG's gold up there.
I feel like if they wanted the option, like they could try and stall out and just have him start making his way down, because typically extended posturing happens throughout these objectives anyway, right? But it doesn't look like they're going to even go for that. I wonder if they feel confident to even look for this. Rod of Ages built up by Fofo, but that really doesn't mean all too much at this point in the game. EDG just trying to use the fact that they have the range from the Victor to shut members like Cream out from even being able to enter.
Abel clearing some vision here. EDG on position. Cream still scary in every early game situation. We've seen what his Akali can do. Abel would love to move over and grab that CS. Dragon resets, and that gives Abel that opportunity to clear the wave. Gets the cannon. Gets all but one of the CS. One had died already. But JJ decides he has to back away, and Cream going to move over to the mid lane as well. And all in all, it's just EDG losing a couple of minions, I think.
Yeah, is it going to turn into too much? No Dragon able to come out on either side. I think for EDG it makes sense that they would be able to do Dragon. Nice job by OMG constantly keeping up that pressure and threatening the fact that they can look for this. As, ooh, so close. But I don't even know if he necessarily wanted to. I guess canceling it would have been fine, but if any other EDG members hadn't started recalls yet and then potentially been able to stay in a reaction time, could have been dangerous. But that wasn't the case. OMG able to take this Dragon. So going to be first of the game for them. Abel probably even going to get another plate for himself. So sure, Gale Force now built up by Leave, but Abel should be on his way to picking up that mythic for himself of his own. Yeah, absolutely.
Going to have 4th plate. I think Leave should be able to get a plate as well, though, on the back of this reset, right? Unless Abel just decides to stay in lane, and I think that is the decision he's made. Opting to stick around to make sure that Leave can't get that plate for free. It's only a minute until plates are gone.
This is where I'd like to see EDG make a play towards bot. It looks like they're already doing that now, but you have Tibbers online, you have ultis, you have item advantage. This should be where you're able to punish this OMG bot lane.
Abel clearing the wave as fast as he can, and it's enough to stop Leave getting that plating. JJ tries to invade the Gromp. Cream's moving over. Aki trying to get involved in the play as well as he finishes off his wolves. And just fighting for vision control on the side of OMG as EDG cluster up to take this blue buff. Aki in the area though. I think EDG are going to have to back away.
So don't find anything that they were looking for. We're hoping to take advantage of the item spike that they have. You highlighted Abel clearing out the wave as fast as he could before. Leave still trying to play aggressively off the spike and get as much damage down as they can, especially being on the Caliber, having that range available. They're really trying to make something happen or bring OMG into a trap.
Yeah, the reset finally comes through from Abel, gets himself that shield bow. That might mean this tower falls though, because the plate's now gone. It's just a few autos away. Leave and Mako move on forwards. Aki here to try and defend alongside PP God. I don't think they can defend this though, and maybe have stayed a little too long. The stun comes through. Roots across the team though as Aki flashes out to safety, and now Abel's back in the play. Chaining up that lightning, but oh, the Cyclone denies the slide across the wall. Abel can't get into the play, but Leave has to use his Gale Force just to survive as Tibbers comes out defensively. Cream threatening from the side. But I don't think OMG have found their window.
No, not able to get in. We saw there some of what we can expect later on. I think just the lasers being shut out, denying entry from people like Cream. But the fact that Aki didn't go down is huge for the side of OMG, and a lot of it being the fact he's going to tank Maokai, right? Not some of the AP shenanigans that we still do see. The Aftershock being there to help give him some of that tankiness. And now, second Rift Herald on the map. So we know both teams are going to start gravitating towards this top side. This is still where OMG's strength is. We haven't seen it in a while because they haven't been playing around the Renekton, but 40 CS up still has the Gore Drinker.
Yeah.
They would love to be able to get Shanghai involved in some action right now.
Honestly, I feel like OMG would love for the laning phase to end ASAP so that they can just run around the map and scrap. I feel like that's the way that they're going to win this game, if they win this game. And like I say, Herald, definitely a fight that will favor them if Shanghai can get a good position, if he can get into the fray. EDG, though, standard front to back for them, with Leave having the Gale Force, but it's on cooldown for the time being. I don't know if EDG can really fight this.
No, but look, we see Ala kind of preventing Shanghai from being able to just walk in the top side, which is allowing the potential engage to come out from EDG in mid.
Dream trying to threaten from the side there. Back to fighting for mid prior, as with all of these neutral objectives. And this feels tense, this feels tough for both teams. And this feels like OMG are really challenging EDG. They're saying you have to play at your best if you want to take this series, if you want to fight us. 1,500 gold in favor of OMG at the start of this one.
EDG, though, happy in their position. They can draw things like the gravity field and OMG just start funneling into them.
Roots come across and look at Shanghai behind enemy lines. He can charge into the fray. Cream threatening from the blue buff area, but they've spread out. Aki dodging the stun from Ala, but he's gone! He's eradicated, and the same for PP God as well. He survives for the time being. Shanghai in the middle of everyone. Needs to be a huge old croc to win this fight. Cream needs to get in there. JJ's clone blocks the Shuriken, and they somehow just can't finish off a kill.
And for EDG, sadly not going to be able to pick up that Herald that you're able to confirm for yourself either. Still do manage to get one, and look at the mid lane, pushing down this turret right now. So will get something off the back of this fight, but great by EDG.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen OMG the ones setting up ganks, finding early advantages, but now coming together 5 members strong, that's really where they shine.
And I feel like we're seeing EDG force pressure on OMG, right? OMG feel like they have to make a play here, but EDG plays so immaculate.
The fact that they have the space first, to me, is one of the big things. They made sure they're in a position where, again, how do you enter into things with the gravity field, the laser coming out, and now being so decisive, engage on the Maokai before things like the Renekton and the Akali can really get access to the backline. We see the stun from Ala coming onto Cream, so he gets stopped right in his tracks. And sure, Shanghai gets in, gets some big damage out with that Q, but not able to follow up. So if EDG can get their comp controlling space first, again, lasers in your face. Threat from the Annie stun there.
Yeah.
The gravity field from Fofo just preventing you from getting in.
Drake being burst here by EDG as the Roots come across the team. Abel trying to get into the pits over the Dragon. Resets here. EDG could be in trouble because Cream behind enemy lines could be devastating if he can make things happen. It's going to be a 50-50, but JJ takes it, and now the fight ensues. Cream in the pit trying to get onto the AD carry, but he just can't. It's Fofo with a kill, and Shanghai just doesn't have the impact he needs. Abel pushed away. Cream has to try and retreat, but knocked up. Leave can't quite finish the job as PP gone. Chased down and finished off. JJ with a bonk on the head will look for more. Spinning around for the triple and Cream to fall. EDG flipped the game on its head.
EDG just doing so well in these 5v5s. They know what they need to do. They showed us in game 1. Great job marking the Akali. Great job prioritizing the right targets where they're using these abilities, and now Waves pushed in mid, taking away enemy jungle camps on bot, really trying to choke out OMG. And look here, Cream trying to force a flank, gets spotted out. But the key thing to me is Aki needing to go in because he gets engaged on. Abel separated from the team with the Scion, and the Renekton Sanji just so slow to join in. Aki is already dead, and Cream, the gravity field was placed down, so he can't get in the fight. Things like the Chaos Storm are ticking as well, so Cream's damage here was ridiculous. When the damage from the fight pop up right away, it was, I think, even less than the Maokai.
Yeah, he just can't find a way in.
No.
And as soon as if he does go in, he's just CC'd up and will be taken down. It's a tough one for Cream. And this is the nature of picking an Akali early on in your draft when you're up against a team like EDG, when you're up against a squad that know how to play against your win conditions, that know how to set up a composition. It's going to make your life hard.
And, I mean, I love that you pointed out because both Victor and Aphelios love playing against these types of champions that are running into them. Sure, Akali's a threat because of the mobility, the flank potential, but things like the Maokai, the Renekton, you have to get in range, putting off the free damage. You have the zone control tools there to deal with them. You hit the nail on the head. I feel like EDG really did react so well in terms of how they built out their game plan in this one.
It's fantastic stuff. Cream underneath his tower. The gravity field making it so difficult. Perfect execution has to come out. A Gale Force for Leave. This feels good as an AD carry to see the assassination go the other way.
OMG going to try and respond in the mid lane, but they have to be careful. We can see threat coming down from top side. The Scion already in, but Ala immediately regretting that choice.
Yeah, I think he was maybe trying to ult to escape but blocked. I'm not quite sure. It wasn't quite on the screen.
I think he was setting up the pincer, but realizing that he was 2 ahead on the play for the other members to be able to get there. Because they were on their way. They were 3 members strong.
Yeah, they were gunning it. They were gunning it. But in the meantime, Leave, red and white against the tower. It's turns out that's the tower's super secret weakness. This is 5,000 gold lead now. Where did this gold come from?
2 big team
a
fights.
minute ago, we were 2K in the lead for OMG, and now EDG in dominant control of this game.
I mean, Herald fight into Dragon fight back-to-back. OMG opting into both, and EDG just taking names in both fights. EDG, I mean, looking like heavy favorites to take this one now. 4K gold in the lead. You hit on the scaling. It really just is there for their side. They really should, I don't even know what outplays are there for OMG. It feels more again, relying on mistakes. Maybe trying to set up some type of picks, especially once Cream's TV's back up. I think if you can get Cream and Shanghai really on the same page, you have a lot of mobility there. You can maybe try and catch someone out in the side lane. But Ala's at the point where he feels it possible to take down.
Just trying to fight for vision, but Aki, you're not allowed any vision anymore. Take it down. A couple of ultimates burnt, or in fact, it was actually just the Chaos Storm. And they managed to get that. Oh no, Tibbers as well. Still currently out. But that's a Baron opportunity. That's
so
the
fast.
jungler. They just shred it. Look at Leave's damage coming out onto this one. Cream wants to make something happen, wants to save the day, but I don't think the day can be saved at this point. Cream flips across with perfect execution there. JJ charging forward, TP comes through, and Ala chasing them down. Another knock-up, and Shanghai falls. And OMG taking apart in this one. EDG just so clean with it.
The ability to bounce back after losing, again, 5 kills to OMG having 22 in game 2. Great stuff by EDG. Great tenacity being shown from them. I will say for OMG, this series doesn't make me think any less of them. They came in as heavy underdogs today.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely had a chance, and we saw that in the series. But honestly, they showed that they had way more of a chance than I thought they would coming in. And it just makes me excited for the potential best of 5s we'll get to see from OMG. They still aren't locked in the playoffs, especially if they lose here. I mean, they just aren't locked in, but they are a team sitting at 8-5 you expect to see in playoffs. And again, after how close this has been, I'm just ready for it. I'm just ready for 5 games of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see this as a matchup in playoffs if OMG could make it that far. But it does feel like EDG have found the upper hand, right? It does feel like they figured out how to tackle what OMG bring to the table. And it's just slowing the game down. It's playing a more controlled game and not letting the chaos of OMG's early game take over.
And also them being able to do it while giving Cream his picks, giving him his champions. A lot of times, the way to beat OMG has been completely ban out the mid lane. EDG are showing that they don't even need to do that, and they can still be able to come out with the W against OMG. You can see
focus those bans on SHANGHAI instead.
Yeah, take away things like the Rumble. He's now taking down inhibitors. Cream's trying to get them some gold back on the opposite side, but leave.
Able, stun, cleanse, and flash immediately comes out here. The Moonlight Vigil not quite enough because it's Shield Bow Shield. Shield Bow Shield. As EDG now looking towards the second inhib and potentially towards the game. But Lyric, I reckon we'll have one last ditch fight here from OMG and perhaps some kind of miracle can happen. We've seen it before. We saw a comeback earlier on today from Anyone's Legend. It's a phenomenal moment. Do we get it from OMG as well? SHANGHAI with the dominance wants to go in. Cream though, look at him, just gets one shot. Barely alive as SHANGHAI gets in and taken down. Cream can't escape this time. A double kill for JJ. As Abel desperately trying to stack up, doing what he can, but I don't think he's going to be able to 1v5 this one. If there's any champion that can, it's Zeri, but he's stuck on the fountain. And EDG will finish this series in style, looking dominant and showing that when it comes to team fights, they are the best.
Great team fighting. Again, even just the map play being there for EDG really feels like that they've been the best in that regard just throughout the LPL as a whole, which is why they're sitting in first place. They not only have like a high level of, an incredibly high level of skill, again, different points, some of these members being considered best in their position, people like JJ, people like Mako, other people being in contention for like top 3, top 4, the Fofos, the Alas, Leave coming in as a hyped up rookie, having the coach who won a, like, what was it, a summer split into a Worlds, into a spring split, into an MSI, something like that, and just really having everything in their corner. So now, we said it, EDG can finish the split first. The only team that can make it 14 series wins. They stay in first off this. OMG not going to lock in playoffs, sadly, but again, it kind of sucks. They look really dejected off this, and I guess it's because they knew it was winnable. They knew that they were able to do it.
I don't blame them for looking dejected because at the game number 2, like, your hopes must have been so high. Like, you must have come in thinking, we're big underdogs here. We'll do what we can. Then game 2, you absolutely smash it. You destroy EDG, the team's #1 in the league. And then game 3 looks like this, where they've just sussed.
And I mean, you said it, right? They were up in the lead. Like, they had a 1 to 2K gold lead to kind of like go back and forth. And then out of nowhere, Herald fight happens. Now we're even. Dragon fight happens. Now EDG are up like 3 to 4K gold. All, you know, everything just really spinning out of control very quickly.
It just feels like EDG did that like top team thing that always happens in the LPL, where it's like, oh, things are looking even. Not anymore. They just snap their fingers and suddenly they're winning the game. And I feel like that all of the top teams, like the top maybe 5 teams in the LPL, have that ability of, okay, our win conditions are online, and the game just ends within 5 minutes. You're like a neutral point here, and then they just go.
You know what's funny is before this series, OMG actually were in the top 5 teams in the LPL. They were number 5. I think now they're number 6. I think Top Esports edged them out by now OMG have 1 loss, but yeah, I mean, that's even scarier. The fact
I think they were 6th, right? Oh, I guess they were tied for 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were right underway, but I believe they were right above BLG with their game difference. So the fact that EDG could do that to another top 5 team is scary. But again, the series was shown by in game 2 when OMG stomped EDG, maybe not as decisively, but 22-5. They were in control the whole time. That when top teams go up against each other, really, if one finds the lead, they just know how to bring it home. Fofo, I think, had tremendous impact. Again, the lasers, the gravity fields, the chaos storm. He did such a great job of making sure people like Cream and Augie could never get in the fight. The other big shout out I have would be JJ, because once again, he was the one finding all the engages, getting things going, and really making sure that people like Abel and Cream couldn't find an impact.
Yeah, unable to get in the fights at all, really, especially Cream. Like, yeah, and this isn't a criticism of Cream, just the way that EDG played, the composition that they had, the way that they execute that composition meant like Cream had no hope of having an impact in these fights. Like you said, the zone control from Fofo coming out. Mako would stun him if he ever got anywhere near Leave. And then he just doesn't have the health bar to stick around.
There was 2 fights I saw him dash in. One of them, he got immediately knocked up by Ala. The other one, he got immediately stunned by Annie. So he tried, couldn't find them. And again, a lot of it came into the prep and the comp that EDG were able to put together, and the fact that they were competent going up against Isakali. And they weren't afraid of a pick just because Cream is very good on it.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff coming out from EDG. And I kind of like this approach as opposed to what we've seen in the past against OMG. A lot of teams were, like you said, just banning out Cream historically. That was the way that you take down OMG, especially when it came to playoffs. That seemed like the bread and butter strategy.
But it worked really well.
OMG. It did work really well. And then EDG go, well, actually, all you do is draft the composition that's good against his picks and then ban someone else out. And then you've got the advantage. And I mean, if you could play as well as EDG, maybe that strategy works. We'll see if other teams can pull that strategy off.
Yeah, it's not, but we get an interview, and we get an interview with a pretty interesting guy.
Yeah.
We get an interview with the guy who brought up the Vlad beer.
Yeah. Not only that, but also Ala is the biggest Giga Chad interviewee. His answers are so very literal every single time. I cannot wait to see what he has to say. Let's hear it from Christina.
Hello there, welcome to Post-Game Interview. I'm Christina. We're joined by Ala, the top laner for EDG. Congratulations on taking down your opponent. You have got 7 consecutive wins so far, and you ranked the first place on the standing. So from your perspective, what is the key for you guys to maintain such a dominant performance? 欢迎阿乐来到我们的赛后采访。恭喜 EDG 今天2-1拿下了对手。其实，在拿下这一场胜利之后 ，EDG 已经来到了7连胜，一路高歌猛进，并且稳居榜首。所以从你的角度来看，你觉得队伍在这么长一段时间内保持这么好的状态的主要原因是什么呢？
就是我们平时训练的比较多，然后就是别人一天打6场训练赛，我们一天要打8场，然后我们自己选手都 rank 到很晚，都很努力吧，大家。
Actually, we really played more scrims every day. For instance, like if our opponent plays 6 scrims every day, we just will play 8 games in one day. The reason why we can maintain such a dominant performance is that we really practice more scrims. That's the reason. And I also want to touch on something about game number 1 because OMG, obviously they get some leads in early game and in late game, in mid game. But how do you guys manage to come back around those late game team fights? And I also want to say that why really engaged affiliates with such a great positions and angles for you guys to turn the tide. So what's your take on this part, especially in late game? 其实今天第一局开始的时候 ，OMG 在前中期打的还是比较不错的嘛，至少是从经济曲线上来看是一路领先。但是在第一局的后期，连着大概3波团战，你们都是非常精准的开到了厄斐琉斯。所以想问一下，第一局能够翻盘的主要原因是在这个部分做的比较好吗？还是在后期针对他们的 AD 有做什么样特殊的调整吗？
因为我们阵容选出来就是开对面 AD 就能赢的阵容嘛，然后对面 AD 团战的位置有点就是靠前，有点不小心了，感觉他就我们开到就能赢。
Actually, when it comes to game number 1, we really get a draft, which if we can engage their AD carry, we can take this win easily. And I do think their affiliates' positions was not very good and was a little bit risky for him, so that we can find some great opportunities to engage affiliates and take down game number 1. And I think that OMG did a really great job in game number 2. They got all 3 lanes priorities and they can close the game very quickly. So how do you guys manage to adjust your form? Did you make some adjustment after losing game number 2, coming to game number 3 that you guys show a better performance compared with game number 2? 那么其实第2局的时候，我们客观来讲 ，OMG 确实是3线全优的打一个非常好的一个状态嘛。所以在第2局之后 ，EDG 这边着重调整了哪些方面呢？因为你们在第3局又展现了很好的表现。
就是第3局，就是我觉得这版本蓝色方比较优势，然后我们教练就是把对面的英雄就是玩得好的都拿捏了，然后 BP 做得好。
Actually, firstly, I really think that blue side has advantages in this meta, and I also want to give credit to our coach that he can really get and grabs the comprehension to the meta. I think we did a better job around the BMP strategies. And final question for you, we are talking about your own play style since you're joining EDG. Maybe you used to play some like Fiora, this kind of assassin, but now you picked more team-oriented champions like tanks, like Cyan. So how would you evaluate your own performance and your play style, especially coming to EDG, this new team? 那么最后一个问题，来到 EDG 之后，大家都在讨论，哎，阿乐的这个变化和游戏风格好像又不太一样了。之前可能我们都记得你的剑姬啊这样的刺客，来到 EDG 之后，好像马上变成了为团队服务。你是怎么样评价自己游戏风格的呢？
就是我觉得现在的情况就是团队需要我选什么，我就能选什么，就比较听教练的话吧。
Actually, I do follow our coaches' suggestions as long as no matter our team needs which kind of champions, I will do something and pick the appropriate champions for my team or for my team. Thank you so much for joining me. 谢谢阿乐来到我们的下午采访，辛苦了。Back to you guys.